So now, so yesterday what we have seen, we have classified the Markov chain as well as the states in the chain, right? So we have defined some chain properties which are irreducible versus reducible, then finite versus infinite, right? And we also have defined some state properties, recurrent versus transient, periodic versus aperiodic, right? Null state. So all these things were defined and classified, and we have observed that although all these different types of chains and types of states are possible, but in practical applications, mostly we find well-behaved Markov chain, which means that all the states are recurrent, aperiodic, and the chain is finite and irreducible, right? So if a chain has all these properties, which means irreducible, finite, and aperiodic, so automatically the states will be recurrent, right? So recurrent means all the states are approachable from any other state in the long run, right? So then we call these Markov chain as ergodic Markov chain. So we have defined this term. Ergodic Markov chain, right? So it's a well-behaved Markov chain. Okay. So we will be mainly focusing our studies on ergodic Markov chain only. But before that, we also want to understand two other states which are already discussed. One is transient state, and another one is absorbing and transient states and periodic states. So far we have seen in the form of transition diagram, that if you are given a transition diagram, then how to figure out that whether some states are transient, some states are recurrent, some states are periodic, right? Now if you look at large problems, and their transition diagram can be very complex, so manually it would be very difficult to understand whether there is some periodicity in certain states, or whether some states are transient, right, or some states are absorbing. So manually it is definitely more difficult, right? So numerically also we have to see that how to identify these different classes of states. Okay. So I am taking an example. So whenever you are given a Markov chain, you know what are the properties of Markov chain, which means the Markov property, stationary distribution. So these things are common, right? And along with it, a transition matrix will be given to you, because without this transition matrix, you cannot work with the Markov chain. And this transition matrix is derived from the collected data on the process. Okay. So suppose this transition matrix is given to you. P is 0.200 and then 0.5, 0.5, 0 and then 0.3, 0.5, 1, right? Now the question is, without drawing the transition diagram. So if you draw the transition diagram, you can easily, because there is a small problem, so you can easily identify that which ones are transient, which one is absorbing, right? So all these things can be easily identified. But we want to understand how to detect these things from the transition matrix itself. Okay. So what is the way? So first of all, suppose if I want to know what is the absorbing state, say I want to know that in this chain what are the absorbing states. So what is the definition of absorbing state? That is the trapping state. That means you can enter this state, but you cannot leave it. That is the definition. It's like a black hole. You can always enter the state, but you cannot leave it. Okay. So from this transition matrix, how do you identify the absorbing state? Which one is the absorbing state here?
3.
3, because you see 1 here, so it is 3. Fine. So because P33 is 1, so 3 is the absorbing state. Is an absorbing state, right? But there could be other absorbing states also, which may not have this probability 1, right? So how to identify them? So absorbing state means what? So P33 is 1 is fine, but this should also ensure that this 1 and 2, if it enters this 3, the state 3, it cannot leave, right? So mathematically, how do you prove this? So intuitively you can say, because P33 is 1, there is no outgoing R. So whichever state, if it comes to it, then it cannot escape, right? Which is fine. But how do you put it mathematically using the long run behavior of the chain? Anybody?
Like, I don't know exactly, but I'm just guessing. So
because this is what is written here is the one-step transition matrix, right?
So as like number of rounds increases, like n tends to infinity, then that P33 value will tend to it will tend to 1, like.
It is already 1 and it should tend to 1, right?
Yeah.
It should tend to 1, but what about the other values?
Other values, like, which are like
so for example, if I write P to the power 100, if I compute this, after 100 iterations, what should be the matrix? P100.
It will tend to a matrix in which the last third column is all ones and the rest are 0.
Yes, exactly. So it will look like this. 1, 1, 1. Right. Now, if you look at this matrix P100, now it is obvious that, so it is saying in the long run, 1 will also, 1 is, if you start from 1, the state 1, it will finally end up at 3. If you start from state 2, it will finally end up at 3, and 3 also will end up at 3. So all the states will ultimately reach 3 and will get trapped there. Now it is obvious from this P100, right? So we can now say safely that 3 is an absorbing state. Okay. So by computing these higher order, matrices, these higher step probability matrices, so some very distant matrix, right? We can easily identify what is an absorbing state. Okay. Now, what are the transient states? Suppose I want to also understand what are the transient states. So what is the definition of transient states?
So for the column, we have to see that corresponding column, and if all the values are 0, it is transient.
Transient. So because what is the definition of transient state?
Pij is 0 for all I. Then state j is transient.
So limit, as I have written earlier, limit n tends to infinity, Pij, n step probability would be 0 for all I. Which means that you cannot approach this state from any other state in the long run. So it means it disappears from the system, right? So when you take this state 1, this first column and second column, you see they are not approachable from any other state. All the probabilities are 0. So we say these 1 and 2 are transient states, right? So transient states is 1 and 2, and absorbing state is 3. Very simple. You can also identify this directly from the transition by drawing the transition diagram. But for large scale problems, it is often more convenient to compute these matrices, n-state matrices, right? And then from the matrix, it would be obvious which one is observing, which one is transient. Right? Any question?
No, sir.
Yes. So now let us see an example of periodic state. So what is the definition of periodic state? That these state can be reached only at certain epochs of time, right? Only after certain period of time. So that is the periodicity. That is the periodicity of that state. And we also know we have discussed this in the last class, that if a chain is irreducible and if only any one of the state is periodic, then the entire chain is periodic. All the states are periodic. If it is not irreducible, then there can be a mix of things. Some states may be periodic, some may not be periodic, right? So let us take a more general example where some states can be periodic while some others may not be. So if I take this probability this Markov chain 0, 0, 0.6, 0.6, 1, 0.4 and 0.4, 0, 0, right? So suppose a Markov chain is given with this transition matrix and you are asked to identify which one are the periodic states and what is the period. How do you go ahead? Say without drawing the transition diagram, of course. From the transition, I mean, you have to conclude these things, these properties from the long run behavior of the system, right? So how do you go ahead with this? So if you draw the transition diagram, so this is say state 1, this is state 2, this is state 3. So 1 to 1 is 0, so 1 to 2 is 0.6, 1 to 3 is 0.4, and then 2 to 1 is 0, 2 to 2 is 1, right? And 2 to 3, okay, 3 to 1 is 0.6, and then 3 to 2 is 0.4, and 3 to 3 is 0. So this is the chain, right? First of all, you tell me whether this is an irreducible chain or reducible. Is this irreducible? Huh?
Reducible.
Reducible. Why?
Absorbing state.
Absorbing state is there.
Absorbing state is there, yeah.
Yes, yes. So you don't have to look at anything else if you find an absorbing state, right? Presence of absorbing state means that it is not irreducible. Okay, fine. So that means in this system, in this chain, some states may be periodic while some others may be aperiodic. Okay, so mix of things could be there. So now tell me, how do you identify which one are periodic and what is the periodicity? So you see, even for this small example, you need to figure out, manually through this transition diagram, right? Now you imagine 100 states. it would be nearly, I mean, impossible to figure out periodicity in the system, right? So we have to go by the definition of periodicity. So what is the definition of periodicity? How do you define a periodic state? Say a state J, when do we call it periodic mathematically? What is the condition?
So if the period is t, then the state like the time which is not a multiple of t will the probability will be 0. Yeah, when n is not a multiple of t, and when n is a multiple of t, it will be 1.
Right. So this is how we define that when n is a multiple of t, then not it is 1, but it can be positive, right? It can be positive, but not necessarily 1. But when it is not divisible by t, then it is definitely 0. It cannot be even positive. Okay, so this is how we define periodicity. So simply you have to check this, that which ones are falling are 0 at some particular higher iterations, and which one are positive, right? So when you have p, so the next you compute what? P2. So what is P2? So you take a square of this matrix, right? So it is like this: 0.24, 0, 0, 0.76, and then 1.76, and then 0, 0, 0.24. So this is P2. So you see in P, if you look at the, so we have to just look at this Pjj n, then n step probability for the state J, if you start from J, right, should be 0 when n is not divisible by t. So what does it mean? So only we have to scan the diagonal elements of the matrix, right? We should not bother about any other elements. Pjjn should be equal to 0, right, when n is not divisible by t. So we only scan the diagonal elements. This is the Pjj, right? So what is the change you are noticing here? So you see the middle state, these two, state 2 is one here, also one here. So what does it mean? Can it be periodic? State 2. State 2, is it periodic or not? Aperiodic.
So it's aperiodic.
Aperiodic, right? Because see, if it is a periodic, then it would have been, it would change here. You would have got 0 here, or some, yes, 0 here, right? If it is 1, then it would have been 0 here. So it is definitely aperiodic. And period means the minimum periodicity should be strictly greater than 1. You cannot say period of 1. Okay. So what about this state 1 and state 3? So here it was 0. Now it has become positive. Okay. Fine. So this is noted. So we will not be able to conclude whether it is periodic or not unless we compute some more iterations, right? So next we compute P3. So when you compute P3, it will be 0, 0, 0.144, and then 0.904, 1, and then 0.856, and then 0.0960, 0, 0, right? So this is P3. Now you look at the diagonal matrix, diagonal elements. So you compare it with this. So here 0, 1, 0, then some positive quantities came 0.24, 0.24. Again in P3 it has turned to 0. Okay. So now you have an indication that it may be periodic, isn't it? But just to ensure that it is not a coincidence, right? So you have to, again, you have to at least you can perform 2 more iterations, P4 and P5. You will see this pattern. So if you compute P4, again some positive quantity will come in these diagonal elements. And when you compute P5, again it will be 0. Fine. So this is state 1 and 3. States 1 and 3, they are periodic. And what is their periodicity? What is the periodicity?
2.
2. Right. So every 2 iterations, they are having positive values in those diagonal elements. Right. Otherwise, it is 0 in those diagonal elements. And state 2, what about state 2? State 2 is not periodic. In fact, from this figure, you can say that state 2 is what kind of a state it is? State 2, what kind of state?
State 2 is absorbing.
Absorbing, right? This one. Great. So now we have understood that how to classify the states and the chain, from the transition matrix, long run behavior of the transition matrix, right? Clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we come back to the ergodic Markov chain. So ergodic is a well-behaved Markov chain, which means all the states are recurrent. There will be no absorbing state, right? No transient state, no periodic state. All the states are aperiodic, right? So this is well-behaved, very nice Markov chain. Okay. Now we will study some behavior of this chain. So first is the long run behavior of this chain. Long run behavior of ergodic Markov chain. So if you look at the taxi example, airport, downtown and hotel, right? So it is an example of ergodic Markov chain. Now, if you look at the distant behavior for this chain, long run behavior, say after 1,000 trips, what will be the transition matrix? Okay. So earlier we have seen the state probability concept. We already know this state probability. What are the state probability? State probability, these we already know. What is it? So when the initial condition is not known, that means from where it has started is not known, then we know that how to compute the state probability, that at the end of say 100 trips, where it will be. What is the probability that it will be at 0? Fine. So A0 100. Yeah. A0 100. So is that state probability. So an initial condition is not known. Fine. Now interestingly, it has been observed for ergodic Markov chain, and you can also in the textbook you will find examples that if the chain is ergodic, then in the long run the transition matrix that you will get So if you start with P and if you compute say P100, right, then these rows of P100 would be identical. Same value. So this is a very, very beautiful and strong observation. And what does it mean? So for example, I'm just saying, so if P, you start with say some, so I'll just give you an example from this page 2. So if I consider P is 0.3, 0.1, 0.05, and then 0.6, 0.6, and 0.4, and 0.1, 0.3, and 0.55. Okay. Suppose this is P. And forget about 100. If you even construct P16, say if I construct P16, it will be like this. You observe the values, huh? 0.101659, 0.101659, 0.101659, 0.52454, and then 0.372881, 0.372881, 0.372881. So just mathematics, simple mathematics. You take P with these values, you will get P16 with these values. Now, when you look at this P16, what do you observe here? So say these states I define as 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3. So what is the probability A1 at 16?
Zero point 101659.
Right. Irrespective of which state it has started with. Right. So you see that in the long run, it really doesn't matter whether the taxi has started from the airport or from the downtown or from the hotel, right? So when you move significantly long in time, in terms of iterations, then these probabilities sort of converge to unique probability. These are some unique probabilities, right, where it has converged. So this is convergence, right? And this is observable only in ergodic Markov chain, not in any other type of Markov chain. Only in ergodic Markov chain, this property is observed. And these properties are known as, and these probabilities are known as steady state probabilities. Steady state probabilities, because it has converged. So that is why this name, steady state probability. Okay. What is the significance of this steady state probability for ergodic Markov chain? That it sort of relieves you from the information about the initial state, because for many processes initial state is not often known. You start observing some process just midway, right? So but if you can prove from the properties of the process that is ergodic type, then in the long run it doesn't matter which state it has started with. Very, very important and beautiful property, steady state probability concept. Is it understood? And computationally you can see also. So I have given you this example. You can also take that our taxi example and compute say P100 or P50, and you will observe the same thing for any ergodic Markov chain. So formally we define formally we define this steady state probability as pi j. Pi j. So pi j is nothing but when limit tends to infinity, that means in long run. So this is the state probability, ANJ, right? Where j is 0, 1, 2, it can be any state. So that is pi j. So then we can also write that this pi j is equal to limit n tends to infinity Pij n for any I. For any I. And where j is 0, 1, 2, like this. This we have observed in this matrix, you see. So this Pij for any I, why I am saying this? So if you consider this particular state, j is 2. So what are the Pij? These values, so they are same for any I. So that's why I have defined for any I. So from any state I to j in n steps, the probability will be the same. That is the steady state probability pi j. So initial state I doesn't matter. Got it or not? This is how we define the steady state probability. You know, mathematically we define in these limit terms. So we can easily write the transition matrix Pn as, how do I write it? So it will be pi 1, pi 2, pi 3. So like this. Pi 1, pi 2, pi 3. So like this. Pi 1, pi 2, pi 3. Number of pi's will depend on the number of states in the chain. Fine. So so at the end, in the long run, your transition matrix, n-step transition matrix will look like this. Okay. So now you want to compute that what are these steady state probabilities. How to compute what are these steady state probabilities? Pi 1, pi 2, pi 3. For any given system, say here, how did I compute? See here the initial Pij's are given. So from where I have computed pi 1, pi 2, pi 3 by just taking some p to the power 16, right? So you can also do the same thing. You can take very large n and compute that matrix. What is the problem here in this approach? Is it computationally easy or difficult to compute these n-step probabilities p to the power 16? Can you do it manually? Very difficult.
Manually, it's very difficult. Yeah.
Difficult.
Even computationally also.
For large matrices, it will be very inefficient.
Yes. And you even do not know. See, for some cases, it may not converge at iteration 16. It may take even 100. It may take even 1000. Right. So you do not know when it will get converged. So it is not an easy approach. This is a mathematically valid approach, but it is not computationally easy. So now we require a computationally easy and convenient method to compute these pi values, the steady state probabilities. Why it is important to compute these steady state probabilities?
Useful information.
Useful in the sense, suppose you are the owner of that cab, you know, and see, earlier days there was no GPS technology. right? Right now, though, you can actually track where the car is, physically present, right? So right now that technology. So earlier it was not there. So say the owner, say they wants to have some idea that given any point of time, what is the probability that he would find the car at airport or at the hotel, right? So even now you can think of some alternative applications where you are interested to know that what is the fraction of time. Say even for that car example, the owner wants to know that what is the fraction of time. So if the cab makes 100 trips, what is the number of times it actually visits the airport? That is also given by this pi value, right? Pi 1. So if say pi 1 is 0.33, which means 33% of the time he visits the airport. Can you say like that? If he makes 100 trips, 33 times on an average, he will visit the airport.
Yes, sir.
Right. So this type of analytical questions can be easily answered with the steady state probability. So it is important to compute. So what is the method now? So we know from Chapman-Kolmogorov, so we are just trying to find an easy method. So from Chapman-Kolmogorov equation, what do we know? Pn is equal to Pn minus 1 P. We can write. Then I take limit n tends to infinity, long run behavior. Limit n tends to infinity. Okay. What is it? What is this left hand side now? Pn, n step probabilities, that matrix, when n tends to infinity. This is nothing but pi, which means the pi 1, pi 2, pi 3, pi 1, pi 2, pi 3 like this. So this can be replaced by pi, right? Is equal to, what is this? Limit tends to infinity Pn minus 1 when n tends to infinity?
Pi.
Pi, right? So this is also pi. And then P. So pi equal to pi P. This is what we get. And another obvious normalizing equation would be summation pi I, or so summation pi j for j equal to for all j 1 to n or the number of states, right, is equal to 1. So this is called normalizing equation. So with the help of these two equations, we can compute the value of pi, all the pi's. How? Take an example. So first derivation is understood, how we have derived these two equations, pi equal to pi p and summation pi is equal to 1. Okay. So now let us see how to actually solve. So let us take an example. P is this 0, 0.5, 0.5, 0.333, 0.333, 0.333, 0.667, 0.333, and 0. Suppose this P is given, this Markov chain is given to you in this transition matrix. Now you are asked to find what are the steady state probabilities of each state. That means pi 1, what is the value of pi 1, pi 2 and pi 3. So you know these two equations. So first to write pi 1, pi 2, pi 3 is equal to pi p, right? So again pi 1, pi 2, pi 3 and p. What is this p? This p. Fine. So when you actually write these values of p and do this multiplication, okay, then you will get these three equations. Pi 1 is equal to 0.333 pi 2 plus 0.667 pi 3. Pi 2 is equal to 0.5 pi 1 plus 0.333 pi 2 plus 0.333 pi 3. And what is pi 3 is equal to 0.5 pi 1 plus 0.333 pi 2. And we have the normalizing equation pi 1, pi 2, pi 3 equal to 1. Right. Now you have to solve these four to find the value of pi 1, pi 2 and pi 3. And you already know how to solve a system of equations, linear system of equations, right? So you employ that method, and when you get this 0.323 and pi 2 is 0.387 and pi 3 is 0.29G. So this is the answer. So these are this. So now you compare this computation with the p to the power 100 computation. It is much easier because at the end you have to solve a linear system of equation, which is sort of standardized these days. Even standard code is available, and very efficient methods is there, so you can easily solve it, right? So this is the way you compute the steady state probabilities. Any question that how to compute the steady state probabilities? What is the method?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yeah, very good. Others?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, so for ergodic Markov chain, these steady state probabilities are defined. For other Markov chain, it is not defined. Okay. So now we'll see some more terms for further analysis of the Markov chain, which is based on these steady state probabilities. So first one is the fast passage time. Fast passage time. Time means here epoch actually. In the Markov chain, the time is modeled as an epoch. Epoch 1, epoch 2, epoch 3. So what is the definition of fast passage time? Fast passage time is, suppose I want to know for a Markov chain, say 1, 2, 3, 4, like this, So this thing is there, so like this, maybe. So this is a Markov chain, right? Now, suppose I want to know that what is the time on an average being taken by the process to fast visit the node 3 from node 1. Suppose I want to understand that. So it is denoted as Nij, right? So N13. So what is N13? The number of iterations or number of epochs it will take to visit node 3 for the first time, starting from node 1. Because it can visit multiple times. Fine, it can visit multiple times, that's fine, but I want to know what is the first time it has visited, the number of epochs or the number of iterations it will take to do that. So this is defined as first passage time. In general, I call it Nij. So Nij is the first passage time starting from I to visit the state J for the first time. Okay. Now, because this is a Markov chain and you have the probabilities and all, so how to answer this fast passage time? You cannot answer in with certainty, right? That okay, you know, it will visit the node 3 in 3 steps. You cannot answer like this because everything is probabilistic here. Everything is uncertain. So in uncertain world, how do you answer these questions?
Expected value.
Expected value. Very good. So that means mean. Right? Mean fast passage time is more important than knowing fast passage time. Okay. So now in order to compute expectation, we know that how to compute expectation. For expectation, we need probabilities. Right. So what is the relevant probability here? That the probability Nij is equal to n, which we can define alternatively as Fij n. This is the fast passage time probability of the fast passage time. That so what does it mean? That from I to j it will take n steps to first visit j. N steps, and this probability is Fij n. Now n can be 1, n can be 2, n can be 3, n can be anything. So now I have to compute the mean first passage time. Now I have defined this probability, and we will use this probability to compute that expectation. So what is that expectation? Expectation, say expected first passage time, or we say is mean fast passage time, is we denoted as Mij. Instead of, so here I have denoted Nij, here Mij, small Mij. This is the mean first passage time. So this is the expected value of Nij. Nij is a random variable, right? How do you express it? What is the expectation? This is the probability distribution of that random variable. So how do you write the expectation? Quickly. So expectation of a random variable x. What is the definition? Summation.
In the summation probability into value.
Value, probability into value. Right. So summation n equal to 1 to infinity, because the number of iteration or number of states could be infinite, right? 1 to infinity. Value. What is the value of Nij? Is a small n, right? Small n. This is the value. And what is the probability of having this value? Is Fijn. This probability. Simple. So this is formally the definition of mean first passage time. Okay. Now in the next class we will see how we can further simplify this expression and use the steady state probabilities to obtain some very nice results about this first passage times. So up to this it is clear. How do I define the random variable of first passage time? How do I define the probability that the first passage time will take n steps, right? This is denoted by Fnij. And then the expected or the mean first passage time, which is a small Mij, and this is the expression. I don't think there is any problem, right? You have all understood it? So now,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So now tomorrow we'll see how we can use the steady state probabilities to obtain some very nice results. Okay, from this expression. Okay. Do you need to? I think it is available. It will be available in the video. So, do you need me? Do you want me to send these slides to you separately?
Yes, sir. It will be helpful to refer.
Okay. So let me see how to do it. These are the pages. Okay, I'll send you, huh? I'll send you. Let me find out how to convert it to a PDF and I'll send. Okay, so attendance is taken. So you can leave now.